Reuters Brexit News. John Major picked apart Theresa May's plan for Brexit in a speech today with a measured calm of a trained assassin. The former Prime Minister comprehensively picked apart his party's plan for the Brexit divorce, criticising the government's aims as unrealistic and urging ministers not to agree to any deal which would damage the country. Speaking at Somerset House in central London, Sir John, who campaigned for Remain, said Mrs May's decision to listen to the ultra-Brexiteers in her party and impose red lines on talks with the EU had boxed the UK into a corner. Citing predictions from the world's major economic forecasters, he warned of an economic self-harm to the country, quoting the government's own Brexit forecasts, which show every Brexit outcome will leave the UK worse off. He said Parliament had a duty to prevent both the country and the British people from becoming poorer. The ultra-Brexiteers have been mistaken wrong in nearly all they have said or promised to the British people, John Major, and because of the myriad of potential pitfalls, a second Brexit referendum after negotiators return with the final deal from Brussels should not be ruled out, he said. He also took aim at hardline Brexiteers, slamming them pushing out-of-date sentiments about British exceptionalism and misleading British public about what the UK could expect to achieve from the split. Ironically, his attack on the leadership of his party comes 25 years after some of the same Eurosceptic Tory MPs started what would become the beginning of the end of Sir John's leadership when they refused to vote to implement the Maastricht Treaty. Mr Major's first attempt to ratify the pact in 1993 was blocked by the so-called Maastricht rebels, who included prominent Leave campaigners and supporters of a hard Brexit Ian Duncan Smith, Liam Fox, and Bill Cash. Passeer John warned Mrs May against listening to ultra-Brexiteers in her party's rebels' refusal to fall in line forced the then PM to call a controversial second vote and threatening to withdraw the whip from any Tory MP who failed to back the government. Many of the rebels voted as they were told for the second vote, and the treaty paved the way for the creation of the euro and closer political integration between member states. But the damage was done to Sir John's leadership, and in the years that followed, he faced continued challenges to his authority and eventually resigned as PM after the Conservatives were trounced by Labour in the 1997 general election. Hitting back at his former colleagues this afternoon, the former PM said, "It is not my purpose to stir controversy, but the truth must be spoken. The ultra-Brexiteers have been mistaken wrong in nearly all they have said or promised to the British people." Sir John called on Theresa May to stand up to the minority of hardcore Leave supporters in her party and abandon her red lines of taking Britain out of the single market and customs union. And he urged the PM to change course and pursue a Norway-style deal which would see the UK remain in the single market but be bound by European Union rules as well as pay for membership. He said, "The argument often espoused by Leave supporters that Parliament must uphold the will of the people is flawed. Because, while Leave did win a majority, just 37% of the voting public backed Brexit." Passeer John said Parliament had a duty not to vote for a Brexit deal which damaged the country too. February 8, 2018, civil servants are anti-Brexit. The remaining 63%, he said, either voted to remain or did not vote at all. He went on to describe Brexit as the most divisive issue of my lifetime and called for an end to the intolerance, bullying and name-calling which he said was being utilized by both sides of the debate. And in a call for unity, he urged Mrs May to ensure the meaningful vote promised to MPs on the final deal will include the choice of rejecting the outcome, sending negotiators back to Brussels to try and improve the deal, or calling a second referendum. He said, "Of course, the will of the people can't be ignored, but Parliament has a duty also to consider the well-being of the people. No one voted for higher prices and poorer public services, but that is what they may get. The emerging evidence suggests Brexit will hurt most those who have least. Neither Parliament nor government wish to see that."